So I'm going to do a quick review on this Woodward Fab bead roller and tell you guys a couple of things also that you're going to want to do once you get it, and the advantages and disadvantages of it. Honestly, I bought this one because it was the least expensive, and it does do a great job of rolling beads. It seems to be well built, and this part here is really what, 1/2-inch steel, so rolling pretty thick gauge steel or aluminum shouldn't be a problem. I haven't tried the aluminum, but I tried the steel and it just goes through it like butter. Some 22 gauge, so that's perfect for what I'm going to be doing. One of the things I'm going to tell you is the gears don't have like perfect, there's a hard spot in the gears a little bit, just a hair. Like right here, you can feel it kind of slow down a little bit. Okay, so the mesh isn't quite lined up, but it works fine even with that. But you do definitely need to put grease in the grease fittings and tighten up all the Allens, and put grease on the gears. And that will make it, because when I first tried to turn it, it would just stop in the middle. So or not completely stop, but really hard spot. So kind of expect that with a cheaper bead roller. Let me tell you some of the advantages and disadvantages of some of these. There's another model that's obviously $1,000. This is like $150 around there, something like that, on eBay. And it has all the same dies. Most of them, what I looked at, had all the same dies on them. So you've got, stair steps, there's different heights of them, and those are the counter dies to them. And, each one has a matching one. And I made this stand, and I still haven't put the pins on here. I'm going to put pins like for the dies to hang. This is an old engine stand from Harbor Freight. They're really cheap. We had one that didn't like it, so it works better like this as a stand for this thing. So, but it comes with all these dies real quick. So there's a lot of different curves in there, and that's the base ones you need. Plus, I was looking online, and they have ones for cage. If you're making body parts for your cage or something like that, they have that too available. And so they have all these different curves, larger ones, smaller ones. This, I guess, it goes over here. So anyway, the things that are good about it, it does work, of course, and it's pretty easy to use. But one of the things that you'll find difficult is your crank is way over here, which you kind of need because you need a large distance from here to here if you're doing a larger panel, and you're trying to run a bead through the middle of it. You're going to want a pretty large distance from here to there. But when you're trying to turn over here and you're holding your metal to run it through to make a nice straight run, you could actually just use a C-clamp and clamp something on here as a jig to hold it so it goes in, and just run against it. So if you're doing a straight run. But if you're doing something where you got to turn the corners, it's kind of hard to do with this handle way out here and you're working way over here. So they do have, if you're willing to spend the $1,200 for $1,300, they do have one that's electric powered, just so you know that. So keep that in mind when you're going to buy one of these, that you might want to, if you're working by yourself and you're doing anything where you got to turn corners, you might want to just step up and get the electric powered one, and it has a foot pedal. They do have those, just so you know. So that's one of the disadvantages to this particular model. What another thing that I'm going to probably do to kind of make that work out is I'm probably going to make a piece of tubing right here and take this bolt here and make my own handle to put out here on this end, so that real quick I can take the impact wrench, a longer bolt, throw a bolt on there, throw a handle on the end. Now I know that it's going to be a little bit tough because it doesn't really have a square end to hold on, but it will probably work. So, because it'll just make this handle kind of work, and then I'll have a smaller handle over here where if I've got lots of turns to do and it's not in the middle of the metal, then it won't take two people to do. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're going to buy it. The stands, I think, for as much as the unit is. So if you're a welder already, which you probably are if you're buying one of these things, you might want to forego the stand. I just had this square tubing laying around, had this old engine stand. You could really literally make one of these things in a few minutes. So we went ahead and did that, and then I've got it now. What we did is we put it on one end with no wheels and one end with wheels, and we had casters on here. We took them off because if you're trying to roll the bead, you don't want to have the thing move around on you. So these wheels will make it so you can kind of lift it up and move it like a tilt dolly. And then because it is really heavy, and then you've got this nice and firm so that when you're spinning this thing around, it's pretty nice and firm. So you might want to try something like that. They have the stand, like I said. I don't know what the disadvantages of the stand are that they have. I think it's just on a pedestal, and it might be a little bit wobbly or something like that while you're trying to work. You want something nice and wide, so you might want to check out making your own. So that's how we did ours. I'll walk you through it. Just a piece of steel channel that I had laying around, seat, and then I think that actually came off the engine stand portion of the Harbor Freight tools. So you could actually get an engine stand for Harbor Freight for either really cheap, $79 or something like that, modify it and make it into what you need. So that's what that is. So anyway, a couple ideas if you're looking at one of these, and some of the things that you might want to look at. This was the cheapest one on eBay. I honestly don't think there's any reason why to buy the more expensive ones. I don't think they probably aren't much better. So if you're okay with the handle issue, and again, like I said, you can do the same thing. Take a piece of tubing, make your own little handle on this end for your turns and stuff like that. Your straight runs, you could clamp something to it and just shove it up against it and run it. You could make your own little C-clamp setup to get straight runs. On the straight runs and then the turns, I would just make another handle for this end. But I don't know how that's going to work. But I really would like the electric one. After having this, I would kind of go, man, I wish I would have bought the electric one, but it's a lot more money. All right, talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.